Before bridges connected cities, they connected dreams. And before New York became a symbol of ambition and progress, there was a woman who carried that dream in silence. Emily Warren Roebling. The year was 1869. The air smelled of smoke and iron. New York and Brooklyn were two worlds separated by the East River, a body of water known not for its beauty, but for its temper. Boats capsized, ferries sank, and winters froze the current solid. Crossing it meant gambling with your life, and yet one man dared to dream of uniting the two cities. His name was Washington Roebling, an engineer obsessed with steel and symmetry, a man who wanted to leave behind something eternal. But no one knew that the bridge he imagined would one day be completed through the mind and hands of his wife. Emily wasn't born into engineering. She was born into curiosity. As a young woman, she loved books, structure, and the quiet logic of how things fit together. But in a century where women were expected to host tea parties, not solve mathematical equations, her curiosity was treated like a flaw, until she met Washington, a man who looked at her not as a lady, but as an equal. They married, and their life became one of shared ambition. When construction of the Brooklyn Bridge began, it was seen as impossible. The world had never built anything like it, a suspension bridge longer and taller than any before. Stone towers would rise like cathedrals from the river, and cables would stretch like the strings of a god's harp. But then came the accident. Deep below the river, in the caissons, pressurized chambers where workers toiled in darkness, Washington Roebling fell ill. His lungs, his nerves, his body, all damaged by what doctors called caisson disease. Today we know it as decompression sickness. He could no longer walk the construction site. He was trapped in his room, watching his dream drift away like smoke. Investors panicked, workers refused orders, and the newspapers whispered, "The bridge will die with the engineer." But they forgot about Emily. Every morning she carried notes from her husband. Every evening she returned with updates, measurements, problems, decisions. Soon the visits grew longer. She began giving the instructions herself. At first the workers laughed. What does a woman know about cables and towers? But when her orders proved precise, when her calculations matched reality, they stopped laughing. Days turned into months, months into years. Emily studied mathematics, material science, stress analysis. She devoured her husband's textbooks and wrote letters to engineers across Europe. She became Washington's hands, his eyes, his translator to the world. And when city officials demanded progress reports, she presented them, alone. Standing before a room full of skeptical men, she spoke not with anger but with calm authority. By the end of her presentation, they no longer saw a woman trying to speak like an engineer. They saw an engineer, period. The Brooklyn Bridge rose slowly, each cable and bolt carrying not only weight, but defiance. Through bitter winters, financial crises, and public doubt, Emily stood at the edge of the river, watching the towers climb into the clouds. 10 years passed. Her husband's health never recovered, but the bridge did. When it was finally ready in 1883, New York erupted in celebration. Flags waved, cannons fired, and at last, after 14 years of struggle, the two cities became one. That morning, Emily Roebling was the first person to cross the Brooklyn Bridge. She rode in a carriage carrying a live rooster, a symbol of victory and new beginnings. Crowds cheered, some wept, and in that moment, no one could deny that she had built the bridge, not with her hands, but with her will. She later wrote, "I have more brains than many men who boast of theirs." And history quietly agreed. Today, thousands of people walk across that bridge every day. Tourists take photos, couples propose, commuters rush across, and few ever realize that the structure beneath their feet was held together by a woman who refused to break. Emily Warren Roebling didn't fight battles with weapons or speeches. She fought with precision, logic, and love, and in doing so, she changed what it meant to be capable, what it meant to lead, what it meant to build. So if you ever find yourself standing on the Brooklyn Bridge, look up. See the cables stretching above like veins of ambition. Feel the wind that once brushed against her face. And remember, some bridges are made of steel, but others are built from courage,